We're live.
Hey, we're in.
Hey.
Welcome to the Friday Live with these two guys.
These two guys, which was different than last week's two guys. So every week it's like two different guys.
Who knows who we'll have next week? It might be, someone else from the team, Tom Cruise. You never know. You got to tune in to find out.
Might be Tom Cruise, might be Tom Meredith, might be, who knows? I have no idea. Just pick a Tom. Might be Nick, might be Joe, might be Fred. No, anyway, great to be back. I feel like I've been away for a long time, but it's actually only been a week.
It's funny how like 2 weeks in digital marketing land is like, oh, this is forever.
You know what? It's strange though, because I'm like, holy crap, how did it become Friday all of a sudden?
I know.
I'm like, oh my God. Like I had 2 podcasts I had to record today. And then I'm like, I also have a live later on today. How did it turn into Friday? So I've been traveling like nonstop. I just got back from Atlanta. I flew back from Atlanta last night and boy, are my arms tired, but I'm bummed. That's an oldie but a goodie, but no, it's good to be back home in the actual studio and not on like the mobile mic talking to you, John Moran.
The mobile mic in a Starbucks somewhere.
I've done that plenty of times. Whatever it takes.
Yep, exactly.
No, we're highly paid to do this.
Give the people what they pay for.
That's it, which is exactly nothing. Well, I am sure, speaking of paying and value, we're going to be bringing some value today because I know you've been cooking up lots of cool stuff in the laboratory.
Yeah.
And anything in particular that's on John's mind today. By the way, if you are a listener and you do not have an avatar, John's brain would be a great avatar for you.
That's a little scary in there. I'm just going to say.
Scary.
Prepare to hear multiple voices from the same avatar. I'm just saying.
That's right.
There's a lot of things going.
It's a lot of things going on in there. So what's been happening in the lab? Like what's happening in the lab? What are you most excited about right now? What's something that the Tier 11 live audience would just like start drooling over?
Yeah. So I made a tease of the previous live of a new structure where we have kind of what we learned from the large team inside of Meta. And that's kind of like the upper echelon team where it's like, once you've been doing this for 5 years, you can join this team. So they're kind of I think I reiterated last week, these are the people that are the tippy top of the Meta and the tip of the spear. They're the people that keep Nike and Chipotle happy when they're about to make changes to the large algorithms. So those are people that we work with on a client. Just because of the massive 6-figure per day spend that he has. So I have been able to tap into it and then also kind of like pick their brain a bit. And so I had multiple calls with them, and what they said, we've already released, and a small reiteration is that it's not released publicly, it's released here. But the small reiteration of that is that if there is a same conversion action for a person in a campaign/ad group, or sorry, ad set in Meta, that is now no longer going to release that opportunity, i.e. targeted audience, i.e. person, unless that campaign ad set or ad is shut off. So what that means is that since same conversion events for different campaigns will not release people, we said, well, let's publish a test. We have a new client we just started working with like 2 weeks ago. Just got access to everything, just got all the creative access to everything, rebuilt it about 3 days ago. And you're going to kind of see the before and after using Meta proposed structure, using John's kind of twist on it from a strategy or from a campaign hierarchy perspective, and how the architect is set up, and then the reasons why it's doing what it's doing. So I'm going to share screen here. And what I'm going to do is hop directly into the Meta ads campaign. This is just the first, second, and third compared to the exact time period beforehand, which is, we just say like previous period. We can even do week over week. We have everything that we're going to share: first click versus cash versus, accrual versus in-app versus, we're going to go through everything. Because this is where I think people kind of struggle to release the previous proven, I know this works strategy, so I'm going to stick with this strategy. When Meta changes strategy, it's difficult for us to say, okay, I'm going to test something completely new, unknown, unheard of, not familiar with, don't know how to control, don't know what to do, don't know how to react. I just learned math, and now you change what math is. I don't want to relearn math. That's essentially what we deal with on like a monthly basis. Right. So what this is showing us is that the previous structure, which we're reducing, and we have some flat out just pauses. Even though like the cost per results like $14, it's irrelevant. We've analyzed this from a data suite perspective inside of Wicked to identify what's going on, what's working, what's not.
Yep.
Once we have that cheat code, we're like, okay, I can see exactly what to do to make this everything better, and we're deploying the new strategy. So you're seeing a halfway point. What was previously running was these 4 campaigns here. Mm-hmm. So you have what they call HF ADV plus value 3x scale. Not really sure what it meant. It was just kind of where they're putting deals like, hey, we're running a 20% off coupon, like that kind of stuff. So it was getting a lot of like warm traffic, existing customers, returning customers, and it would just reconvert the same people over and over again on a deal, training the audience to buy the deal, which is bad. We're training people to be like, just, wait to see an ad from us for 20% off this next week, and don't worry about buying anything. So we pause that. That's going to be going away.
Okay. We
are moving towards a value proposition, branding, and growth stage rather than we sell what everyone else sells, but cheaper. So that's the race to the bottom. We're on a push to the top. So new customer acquisition, new eyeballs, new growth, new everything. And so what we're getting rid of is the old prospecting. And I use prospecting with like air quotes because this was prospecting, remarketing, new customer turning. It was everything. Right. So this one is being reduced. We're down 22% because I'm making way for new campaigns, and I'll explain those. Then we have like 2 different, basically retargeting campaigns. One's a catalog, one's a non-catalog. So these are also starting, or these are on, but phased out because they're spending only about $900 of the $4,000. So we're taking 1 step forward, and our 1 step back in the other campaign should result in 1 step forward. So we're basically reallocating from previous, allocating into new. So hopefully it's 2 steps.
And by the way, I think this is actually a really good example. I know this client extremely well. This is not I'm spending $10,000 a day client. Like these are moderate spend. So a lot of people that are probably watching are going to be watching this. They're like, all right, well, these guys always talk about these big ad accounts. Like this is an ad account that's this is a regular business, not a tremendous scale, modest, like a couple $100. Well, I mean, I guess if we do the math here,
about 1,000 a week, or
1,000 a week. Yeah,
about 1,000 a week.
Yep. So a couple $100 a day, that kind of thing. So,
I'm sorry, 1,000. Sorry, not 1,000 a week. 1,000 a day, on average. So 4 days, $4,000. I said 1,000 a week. My apologies. 1,000 a day. 30K per month though is not a
okay. So they're 1,000 a day. So they're 30K a month. All right, got it.
Yeah,
makes sense.
30K a month is probably when you would want to hire an agency anyway. So
absolutely, that's the threshold, right?
Anything under that, you're going to pay 10 grand for someone else to watch the other 20. It's like,
totally.
Yeah. So that's kind of like your threshold. So we're at that point where it's like it works for pretty much everybody. So I combined 2 strategies. Let me take some water real quick. The 2 strategies that we're deploying is feeder strategy on top of a creative testing strategy, utilizing the conversion events that Meta wants us to push into, utilizing the targeted, the non-exclusions, and basically all the structure. So we're going to kind of go through that a bit it's a lot to cover, but I want to go through it quickly so we can get to the end because we have about 20 minutes before we dive into Q&A. So we have 2 campaigns that are of the same conversion objective, and that is the 2 per view content campaigns. So view content, basically our feeder strategy. Then the other ones we have are 2 campaigns.
Conversion objective. Got it. Makes sense.
So these 2 are going after purchases. These 2 are going after the new eyeballs to the site. Now, what we are doing though is splitting out the budget essentially 80-20 per group. So you have 80% of your spend on the main campaign, 20% of the spend on creative testing. Same thing with the main campaign has 80% of the spend, and the creative testing has 20. These 2 creative testing campaigns are going to identify what type of ad copy is working and is not working that can be duplicated, not replaced, but duplicated into the main campaign, and then removing the previous ones. This is different form of creative testing because what Meta basically says is if I find a person in this campaign here, the creative testing campaign, and it's a view content bidding strategy, I'm going to lock on to that person and not let them go for dear life, which means if I remove that ad and add it here, I have to hope that the algorithm takes the new campaign and says, hey, go after the same person. We've released that opportunity, has to be picked up on the other side. Yeah, that's what we typically see. What happens in traditional creative testing is we say these ads work, we pause and we clone them over here. And then the good quality traffic from there moves over to the other one. However, so does a lot of warm traffic.
Right.
So that hits a point of diminishing return because now it's artificially better, but it's only artificially better because Meta just moved all the warm traffic to you.
Mhm.
So with keeping these two campaigns static, the creative testing and the main campaign, I now have a campaign dedicated to an audience that cannot be found in the main campaign, but is a smaller portion of the total. Think of this like an email campaign. You have 100,000 people. You're going to run a headline test to 10 to 20,000 of those, see what works, and then hit the other 80. They're not going to be overlapping. They're going to be a small portion of a same audience, but different people in those audiences because they're attached to the standard campaigns that they've had. And then we clone the good performance of the creative campaigns ads into the main campaign without shutting it off so that we can still go after the positive results of the users who are not released, but still use the good creative on the people in the main campaign that has not seen it yet, but are of the same audience.
Mhm.
So what's interesting about this is because then we repeat the same process on a conversion campaign. Same exact things, your standard creative testing, it's a CBO, and then we're using about 5 ads at a time to identify what work and then move them in. But here's what's interesting is when you look at the metrics, you can start to see similarities in the performance of the metrics, knowing that they're actually not really being released to or not being overlapped too much. Potentially, they're doing pretty well. So if we look at things like CPC, we look at things like CPM, and then we look at things like CTR. This is going to help us identify the type of audiences and how they're reacting to our content. So for example, we can see that our creative testing, our view content, these two that are going after brand new people are much more interested than people that were kind of hammering with ads and beating them up and hopefully they buy in existing customers, but they're about the same.
Look at the differences in CPMs too.
CPCs as well, 7 cents versus 7.
Crazy. Yeah.
The $8 versus 35. Now we look at this and say, okay, we have better engagement in click the rate because they're fresher people. We have a better CPM because it's also not as hard to get, or it's not easy to get these people to convert. So Meta doesn't necessarily have to charge us as most. Plus, this campaign's converting a ton of people because it's getting a conversion on a view content like a non-bouncer.
Right.
And then the CPCs are about 10 times cheaper because of the same reasons there, because of CPM and the click the rate. Now, one thing we have to look at is say, okay, if this is starting to work, what happens to the add to carts? What is the total add to carts? Well, if we look at the add to carts as an example, we have our view content getting 31 add to carts for $128. And then you have the next one up getting 100 add to carts in the main purchase campaign for $8 or $7.50. So it's coming in about half the price. The cost for add to cart is half. So I have half the cost of add to carts. I have a better click the rate, better CPC, and better CPM. I should see a massive rush of new interested users. That's my assumption.
Should.
So before we jump into the back end, I have to say, okay, if we look at this week over week, this is the March 25th, 26th, 27th, which is the date range directly before the week of the change of 1, 2, and 3. So we're going to compare the 1st, 2nd, 3rd compared to the 25th, 26th, 27th. Last week, 55 new customers. This week, 82. Perfect. Now, where did it come from? I'm hoping it's Meta. So we look at the same date range, 1, 2, 3, compared to the same time period previous week, 25, 26, 27. And what you can see starts to make a lot of sense. So costs stayed about the same, a little bit up, 16%. Good. Clicks went up 135%. Excellent. New visits went up 171%. Excellent. New visit percentile, the ratio did grow by 15%. Excellent. The effective cost per new visit now is $4 of repeat existing users, and people are just buying the deals over and over again, down to $1.82, heading in the right direction. Because feeder strategy is trying to get new users and not existing customers, your new versus returning revenue is heavily skewed in the positive 87% towards the new. The returning is not really necessarily getting engaged, even on a cash basis, too much, which is great. That is then dropping our nCAC down 45% inside of Facebook, and is also lowering our nCAC in Google because the brand bleed over. What's nice about this is you can see less clicks, less new visits, a higher eCPNV. All of a sudden, like 65% increase in leads, 36% increase in sales, 26% increase in revenue. Some new, a lot more returning, whatever it may be, that's fine. But nCAC is still going down without actually even having to add an ad spend. So now what this looks like is for a 12% cost increase, $1,000. You're not talking about like John hit $1 million and I can't do that. This is literally $1,000 difference. Yeah. Our customers are up 40% and our nCAC is down 34%. It's not a big spend. The stuff that I teach is not because it only works if you got $1 billion. It's $1,000 different change, but a restructural change that is now reducing nCAC by 34. And last but not least, let's look at click date first click only, 3 days. This is a 3-day first click only accrual. Harshest way that you could look at any sort of metric at all is basically only ad spend in the last 3 days and only things that came back in 3 days. I don't care about returning customers from last week. I don't care about first time clicks from 10 days ago, only the last 7 days. Okay. Now we see 60% cost.
Well, in this case, the last 3 days.
This is the last 3 days. Yeah.
Right.
So
right.
the only 3 days. And,
okay, got it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yep.
I'm sorry. 3 days. Only 3 days. So only the 3 days. Exactly. Cost is the same because
that time period before and this time period now, the clicks that only happen in those 3 days.
Exactly.
Well, 6 days. So, that 3 and 3. Got
3 versus 3. Exactly. So when we look at the click date, that's when we see first click only. First click only, I should see Google Ads and CAC go up. It's not first click. Proves the bleed over. Bing. Good to go there. Now let's look at the important metrics, which is Facebook's 16% up in cost. Still the same, new business. All this stuff is the same. And yes, we have new revenue up 78%. Returning revenue had 0 and still is 0. But the nCAC is still down 20%, even the last 3 days. And this is our top line, which is 12% increase in costs, 57% increase in accrual customers, faster than the 30% increase in cash basis. We're making bigger strides with smaller people, but more recently and was effective in this new campaign. This is actually reflective of the realistic change in the last 3 days. Look at our nCAC, 432 on a first click accrual down to $118. We are first click accrual down to $118. I'm getting 92. And that's why this thing is dropping that average down so hard. So that's what's really nice about this is this structure of relaunching feeder strategy with singular conversion action events, locking those hierarchies of campaigns together in perpetuity will now do this. I will be able to view content creative testing. What is going to drive the most amount of fresh eyeballs first? Test those. Put it into the main campaign, scale it up. Now we have a main campaign with tested ads that are going after new people because we've already proven it that's working, and push up as long as the add to carts, the CPMs, the CPCs, and the click-through rates continue or improve better, we're set. And the add to carts obviously come in cheap. Then these two campaigns here are going to say, now that you're feeding me all of these people, the creative testing of the purchasing campaign is going to identify what are people interacting with most often when they're half warm, half cold, as working well. But those people cannot be found in the other campaigns or the main campaign. So we get to inherit the good creative to expand. So we take 20, we test, we give it to the other 80 and push. So this is the hierarchy that we're going to, these are 4 main campaigns. This is our foundation. This is our starting point to build off of. So it's pretty cool in 2 weeks, just to be able to optimize the conversion events, build out the new campaigns, get the new creative there, wipe out everything else, exclude all targeting, include returning customers because it doesn't matter. Meta doesn't care anyway. Completely abandon every strategy you've ever known. And ta-da!
Yeah, make it that way. 2 questions for you. So on one of the data suite screens, you actually showed end revenue. It was 2 different columns. One was 0 and one actually had numbers in it. And I've never seen that before. I just want to see like it's bothering me because I know there's a reason why it's there, but yeah. So end revenue over on the right-hand side there, end revenue.
R and N.
Oh, okay. I didn't. Okay. Got it. Okay.
Yep.
Now it makes sense. I was looking at the R as an N.
So for everyone out there in YouTube land, just as an example, it's okay for us
check
to see
my glasses.
0.
Right.
Yeah, right. It's okay for us to see 0 returning revenue because this is first click only on click date. I should not have a first click on existing customer. That should never be possible.
Yep.
And it's not because this tracking's so freaking dialed in. It's like, no, you're right.
Totally makes sense. The other question I have is, okay, you're testing creative. When you're determining your creative as to whether or not to take it out of the test campaign and the main campaign, do you use Data Suite in which to do that? And can we look at that specifically to see? I'm super curious as to which ones are actually the ones that are like driving the results. And then how do you utilize that data in order to make data-driven, data-derived decisions, the buzzword of our industry, in order to do more of what's working and less of what's not?
So that was kind of what we're working on in the next iteration. The bad part is it's not available to test yet as of like an hour ago. So I have to give you a little bit of a backstory because what we've been finding.
This is hot off the presses is basically what you're saying. Like it's so hot. Got it.
It's so hot that we did work with the team internally this morning and we were able to launch this here Might show on and might not show, but they said enable it and let us know when it's enabled. Yep. So we have actually our data suite CAPI import. CAPI import is then going to actually now import the new customers and product specific new customers. That is now the creative testing that we can do. The import is extremely, extremely important. And I'm kind of pissed off it took me this long to realize things. But as I kind of sat down and said, okay, why isn't it when we look at something inside of Wicked Reports or the interface, the data suite, when we look inside of there and we see something going wrong, we know it's going wrong. The report card says, hey, things are messing up. The problem is I have no way to communicate that to an algorithm. So here's what's interesting is, it's like revenue is down. Okay. So you buy, data suite. It says, yep, revenue is down. It's going after the wrong people. We're like, aha, I hope I can beg hard enough for Facebook to listen to me. So that's what we see, is that it's not actually coming true. No matter what we ask the campaigns to do, targeting, exclusions, ad copy, it kind of does whatever it wants. And it gets really getting really, really upsetting in terms of people that are following this and say like, hey, it's not working, or hey, it is working. I don't know why. And that was because whatever we ask Meta to do, Meta will absolutely do, to the point where it's kind of getting ridiculous. Watch this. Let me just see if I have an example. And I think it was this last week. Yeah, watch this. All right. So here's going to be a little bit difficult to follow, but I'm going to go slow. And this is extremely important because this is the perfect use case I have in the world.
We're trying to answer for what is your best performing creative really at the end of the day, and how do you make those decisions? So for those of you following at home.
Yep. Well, let me ask a quick question out there. And I want everyone to think about this, because this is an area I've never seen anybody dive into. And it was kind of the obvious question that I answered, again, in my shower. That's where I think the best. And we never really came up with a scenario that was as obvious.
We need to do a live with you in the shower one time.
I should. Yeah, right.
That's
I'll
what
wash my hair. I'll take 10 seconds.
That would be the shortest live ever. Yeah. Me too.
Right,
go ahead. So John's in the shower and he's thinking.
Yep. So I have a campaign that is selling immune defense and immune defense. Okay. These are two different campaigns selling the same product. One's doing videos, blah, blah. Watch this though. This is what's really interesting. You want to ask Meta for a new customer? Great. You have 15 sales, 14 are new. You got what you asked for. And now I said, hey, I want to see the purchase immune. It's like, okay, you got 15 and 14. Same exact, right? It's 15 and 14, just like the new customers, 15 and 14. The problem is when you ask for the 15 or 15 immune, you got 14, only 5 of them are new. So do you see that when you ask it for a primary objective, it will nail it at the sacrifice of every other objective. So I ask you this, if you're doing creative testing, how are you verifying that that ad is selling that product and to a new customer?
Yeah.
Well, let's say you can't. How do you ask it to? So creative testing means I have to have a new person buy the product that I'm trying to sell. So I like to have in our creative testing event, I need 14 purchase immunes. I don't care if 5 are new and the other 9 are not new. I would really like that to be fixed, but I'm happy that they're at least buying the product I want them, even though they're not new. Why? Well, I said, hey, Meta, take the new and returning customers and take the warm and cold traffic and sell them only immune. They said, all right, done. And then I said, hey, take the new and cold traffic and take the new and returning customers and sell only new. It says, well, I can't sell a returning customers as new. So I gave you what you asked for. What you ask Meta to do, it will do. But by default, it will try to get a sale off of warm traffic, cold traffic, new customers, returning customers. Just know that you are 50% as effective at any given time in your campaign. So your creative testing says I have a new ad, new product, and I need new people. I need cold traffic. I need new customers. Well, if you're asking Meta, actually, hey, buddy, don't, you know what I said earlier? New customer, don't worry about that. Just give me whatever you want. I'll call it creative testing later. That's what we're doing, because Meta is doing that without us asking that.
So if you want more immune customers, and even if they're digestive customers from prior, like it is technically a new immune customer is what you're saying, but it really isn't a new customer because they've already bought from you before, just another product.
Yeah. And so if is 9 existing customers out of 14 sales, how creative tested is that when Bob, who's been here for 10 years, came back the 38th time?
Mm-hmm.
It's not possible that you can't
Yeah.
actually do creative testing. So that's what we've been finding is as we change it from like purchase NC, purchase immune, purchase digestive, we're like, oh my God, like whatever we ask it to get, it gets, but it doesn't care about everything else. And you can see it revert back to the ways that it wanted to do. Fine, here's your 10 sales, half new. Well, I'm measuring by NCAC. Give me 10 sales. You didn't ask me for that. You asked me for immune sales, not new customers.
Yeah.
Well, wait. But I wanted 14. Okay, good. So you sold immune. This one actually did. So 15 sales, 14. Purchase NC of immune is actually selling immune.
But there is a way, though, right? We've talked about this. I know this is being tested, and maybe it's a good time to bring it up because is there a way to optimize for the custom conversion for not just the new immune customer, not just the new digestive customer, but for the actual new customer that's never bought prior? That is
the customer that's never bought prior is purchase NC.
Purchase NC.
Mm-hmm. Now, how do you get them to buy digestive versus immune versus tox versus probiotics?
I guess you just put an ad in front of them that's specific to that product.
Yep,
is my guess.
You would think so, and that sometimes works. Now add 1,000.
But I know I'm wrong.
well, here's what's funny: if you add 1,000 SKUs at $100,000, what happens then?
Everywhere,
jumbled, and everything's selling everything all the time.
Well, everyone thinks that, hey, if I put that ad in front of them, that's the only brand that they're going to buy, when in fact it's chaos. Like humans are humans. It's like they're going to buy it. They're going to click to the site and click around and do all this. And there's no way you can predict that unless, you've got tracking on the site that shows user behavior to a certain degree. But if you have 1,000 SKUs, like who the hell knows what they're going to buy?
Right. So that's what's kind of interesting is now what if you had the ability to say, hey, Meta, you only can take credit on a CAPI import when I say you were the first channel to get the click, not Google, not TikTok, not organic. You were the first channel to get the click. It is a new customer and is of the product that it was trying to sell. That's what we're testing 3 hours ago.
That would be great. Like that answers my question. That's the question I'm trying to ask.
It's exactly right. So it's funny. You know how weird of a mental block this is in our brain because
I know
so hard by Meta. Here's what, hey, what do you want? I want new customers buying the product I'm trying to fricking sell. Well, that's a novel idea.
Sure. I'll sell you this guy's new. He's never bought immune before, but he's bought digestive like 100 times, but it's new.
So that's what's interesting is so now with this hierarchy, the stuff that we are going to be able to create will look more like this. And now let's go into mind expansion. Is we could have our creative testing and a main campaign on traffic campaigns, on conversion campaigns, on traffic campaigns for specific conversion actions. These are all new traffic in our view content that is actually viewing the product that you're sending them to. We could do remarketing campaigns, win-back campaigns, new product launch campaigns, cross-sell campaigns, upsell campaigns. As long as these are different conversion actions, you could run a 80-20 split of main campaign and creative testing campaign for perpetuity because these campaigns will lock in the opportunity and cannot release them because they're the same conversion action. So Meta has now been moved into, please do what I ask you to now you're only going to be able to pat yourself on the back when you can actually somehow figure out a way to get exactly what I'm asking you to do. And they're powerful enough to do that. It has been working. I spent $103,000 last week proving that.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's why people tune into this show.
Right. So that's what's cool. So what's interesting is Meta, when you're doing just a purchase event, you're no longer in control. That's it. It's going to get new returning traffic, new returning customers on 20 different SKUs. And good luck. Hopefully Meta gods shine down on you that day. If not, good luck not getting fired by your client. So we have to take the control back by conversions because obviously targeting and exclusions have been ignored. So what do we do then? We pull the next lever that we can control, conversions.
Yeah.
And now we structure it technically with ADV audiences that are on by default. Even if you don't have them on, it's on by default. So every exclusion is now gone. That's what Meta said to me. And now that's actually what's working. So kind of cool stuff. This is cutting edge stuff. There's massive shifts going on right now and we are scaling into it and have doubled the size of the company since December. And this is all just, we're just sharing this information with the world.
It's amazing to me that something is simple. It's not simple. It is simple, but it's not simplistic. Is you show intent by a click. And that's really like the feeder strategy is all about that unto itself. You're optimizing for the click. We used to do this with traffic campaigns. We get like somebody to click and if they click, that's intent. Then we'll just remarket to them because now they're on our retargeting list. But it's a different thing. It's like it has to be a conversion campaign because that's a conversion minded individual in the mind of Facebook or Meta in this particular case, whereas traffic is just like, I'm just clicking everywhere. Have you ever tried, I remember doing this 6-7 years ago, saying like, this is the best way. You click on a blog post with a traffic campaign, and then all you do is you just retarget the hell out of them with a product, depending on what the product is that is talked about in that blog post. And it was a magical formula. People were like, oh my God. But now then
you'd have to set targeting though, right?
True. You would have very specific targeting for it. And then the remarketing lists were a lot more precise back then. The point is like we were using traffic campaign and then a conversion campaign. The whole thing with this is that even with the CPMs as low as they are, the cost per click as low as they are, the CTR way higher, you're using a conversion objective to a conversion objective. And the same thing is being done for feeder for both Meta and for Google, which is, it's real. Like when you think about it, yes, John, like people come on this call like, oh my God, everything that John is explaining is so complicated. Yes, there's complexity to it. But if you really think about it, you take a step back. It's like, why wouldn't the algorithm try to target somebody who's already shown interest or at least some kind of level of engagement and then get them to buy on that second click? It's not always on the second click. It might be the third, fourth, fifth click that's caught in the TCPA or TROAS campaign or in the conversion to a website purchase on a Meta campaign.
Right. And what's interesting about this whole thing too is that we used to have like kind of leading indicators, and we used to have leading targeted and exclusions. And we're saying, okay, we just assumed that Meta, listened to every single thing that we wanted to, and then worked out its way. Right. Now we have to lead from behind, which is really strange. And it's like, it's almost like, okay, I have no targeting. I have no exclusions. I have no suggestions. I have no cost cap. I'm going to write the best ad copy and creative I possibly can so that you can understand what I want. I'm going to point you to the page that you're going to attract the conversion on so you can learn and understand. And then you're just going to go off on your own and you're just going to do whatever you want. That's basically what Meta does now. That's Advantage Plus. Even manual campaigns are using Advantage Plus audiences. They're Advantage Plus, whether you like it or not. And the sooner that people get on board with that, the better off they will be. Only because I hear so much right now. I had a sales call with a company with our friend TJ at about midnight in Australia, and we mentioned all this stuff, and I'm like, hey, the targeting exclusions are gone. He's like, well, that would be a bombshell if you're true. I'm like, it's true, man. Like it is. I can prove it. I have 48 case studies. I can prove it. 100%. So what's interesting is this is still foreign to everybody. No. ROAS is good. Okay, now we're kind of realizing that is no. Targeting exclusions are good. Well, have you ever investigated? No, I just assume, and I'm gonna take an emotional stance there. That is hard to break, and so that's where we have to let the data lead. That's the only thing that we can do is let the data lead. And what's real, we can get extremely detailed in our data inside of Data Suite, so much so that when we talk with this large Meta team. I won't mention them by name, but they're a really well-known team inside of Meta. But when we spoke with them, they started to explain things that I said, you know what, I can actually investigate if that's true. They're like, it will not release the opportunity. I'm like, okay, I can investigate that. They're like, it will only do it if that ad's shut off for different conversion action. It will only jump by conversion event now. So they started to explain everything. I said, okay, I have Data Suite, so I can actually prove this now. So when I started to look inside of the new campaigns and sales, let me do this here. I'm actually going to pull something up. Give me one quick moment. It's loading.
And we will get to questions here, I promise. I know they're piling up here. Exactly. Mitch Barham, thanks for showing up. We did start the show when you arrived. Just by the way, Mitch, bearded Mitch. Anyway, a lot of funny comments today. Everyone's comedian today. It's almost like we Funny Friday or something. Okay.
Right. So here's what's interesting is we can actually see that when there's a change in conversion or change in campaign or the conversion action or conversion event, it locks in I'll just give you 2 examples and we'll jump right into questions. But what I was able to do is look at all of the new versus returning customers and sales and everything. And I was like, okay, so they started with creative testing PI event in Laura and L0 that was actually shut off because this is the 9th. Then it left, and then the new PI, same PI event, but different ad set. So same event, same audience. Then we look at next, and we're going all the way back to 2024. This one was Paul. Paul, we have confirmed even on live that Paul shut off. He spent $500,000. He's tired. Then you see it gets locked into the same ad set. This is actually a different objective. And so this is a different one than CRV. This is PNC. So then it gets locked in, and then changing the conversion event. So they will not jump between ad sets if it's the same conversion event. They're always in the same ad set. So we can kind of see when you shut off that ad set, that user gets released. We start this one, they pop up over here, and we've dated them so we can actually even follow along by saying, yeah, even the dates line up, shut off on the 9th. What happened to them? They pop back up on the 22nd. The campaign with the same conversion action. Yes, on the 22nd. Yes, there they are. We're seeing how the traffic is targeted in real time. So now I'm like, I know how to set this up. And now we're 100%, basically scaled for 4% difference in 3 days. Like, this stuff works. It works well to adapt to the change and leverage it rather than be like, no, I don't believe it.
I have a theoretical question for you that hopefully will take less than 30 seconds.
Yeah.
More of a yes or a no. Are you hacking the algorithms of these ad platforms, or are you just figuring out what actually works based on data, and where is that hack element? Because I know you love to be able to figure out stuff that nobody else does, but when I explain it to people what you do, it's not a hack, but there is a little bit of hack in you, just like there's a little hacker in you, like there is in me.
Yeah, there's definitely a hacker.
Yeah.
So the answer is both. Once I figure out the weaknesses or the leverage points of an algorithm, I will test being able to manipulate those.
Manipulate them to the proper end, which is to satisfy the client, to acquire new customers at a cost that makes sense for them and get them to buy over and over again. And that's what our jobs are.
Right. Most people have just look and say, did it track a purchase? Yes. We are going 7 layers deeper and be like, no. Now we're optimizing towards new customers that came from this channel of that ad. That's a vastly different point than I hope this stays high versus I know exactly how to manipulate this. The problem, and I'll leave everyone with this. This is a big learning lesson for everyone. If you don't know exactly why things are going good, it's only a matter of time before you don't know exactly why or how things are going bad, which means you're paid to hope. And that's a hard situation to be in. That is a situation I will never find myself in again, which is the clients like, why is everything crashing? And it's like, I don't know. Then I'm bad at my job.
It's a hard validation. All right. Well, let's get into some questions here. Yes, Mitch is here.
We can begin. Thank you, sir.
It is. We have begun, and he does agree. Shower and the toilet are the best hanging places. I myself, toilet, John, shower. So there's like a 50-50 on that. And John Moran's dog is here as well. Yeah. So everyone's here.
If you live in an RV, you can actually take a shower on the toilet. It's really small. That would be the ultimate thinking.
It's very true. They're like that. Our old RV kind of had that. You could actually be in between. I know, it's crazy. All right. Speaking of John Moran's dog. All right. Do you have any tips on the most efficient way to handle monthly reporting for a large client portfolio? 15 plus automated dashboards. Reporting at the beginning of the month is always time consuming.
I think we have a tool. There's a suite of services that have data in it. And I would think this suite of data would be good.
Data.
It's a suite. That's reporting. I don't do reporting. Reporting to me is useless. It's just a way for them to be brought up to speed one time that develops questions. So my style is every week we will know what we're doing, what went right, what went wrong, what we're doing because it went wrong, what we expected to see and what we actually saw, what we did for that, what the plan is for this week and what we're expecting to see next week. You can't get that in a report. And so that's why I think that this is a extremely high touch, high maintenance type of environment that we live in. And unless the client is up to speed and understanding with a high level of information, they are constantly nervous because we told them, forget everything that you knew. They went, okay, now I have nothing but questions. So now we have to train these clients into the way of thinking. You all have been watching this for months and you're starting to get it. Imagine a person paying you with this livelihood on the line. They are going to be jumping through the screen, grabbing you, going, "What's going on? You told me not to look at ROAS and it's going down." So they need to be loved on 10 times as much. A report is the wrong way, in my opinion, to do that. They need to be updated on your thinking that week, not why is it red. That helps.
I think it depends on the depth of understanding, the depth of like the client that gets into the weeds. I've had it both ways, and we do use sort of a data box as a solution that we do use, but it's usually has to be articulated in a high level and a rational, this is what we're doing. And then it usually ends up having a lot of questions. So it depends on the perplexity of the client too. Like there's plenty of clients, we don't get into the weeds with them. Those are probably ones that you would never get involved in, John. But the point is like, it does depend on the individual client. I just find that most people are suspect and they are paying you every single month. So they want a validation that what you're doing is the right thing. And they have a modicum of knowledge in digital marketing, or they're really deep in the ways they used to do it themselves, and now they're turning it over to you. So now they actually have all these other questions. Sometimes they go down all kinds of rabbit holes that don't make any sense.
I think that's why it's like, if I send you a report that said, "Hey, NMER is up at M, but MER is down," you have to be able to say, "Oh, well, that means I actually have more new customers, but my returning customers will a little bit slower that week." That is something that a lot of clients can't really fully grasp, but that's how I report. So nCAC and CAC and MER, what the difference is, why are they like that. We have 15 different pieces of MPIs that we report on that no one does. So sending it over is not enough, I guess I would say sometimes.
Yeah.
And I'm also dealing with exactly. Yeah. And so that's sometimes they have more questions than what they're used to. And it gets easier once they get those and they now use that as their ROAS. Like, oh, nCAC's down. Awesome.
There's as much education with clients, if you're an agency that's listening to this, as there is like both internal teams and for your clients. Because you're trying to teach them a different way of doing things and understanding how results actually work. And it is a process. And sometimes it goes like you're trying to educate the VP of marketing, and then he has to educate the CEO. Like we have one particular
each other's questions and scrutiny.
And he has and he grills you so he can answer them, even though he supports what you're doing. So
like that thing where we literally, I launched 4 campaigns and increased new customers by 50%. That took 28 minutes. It was a week and a half of explanation, planning, preparation, training, education, what we're expecting, trust us. Here's what the spend's going to do. The button pushing was tick, tick, tick. All right, we live? Yeah, we're good.
Right.
It was 10 days though of understanding. And this client was like, I want to know this stuff. And so that one, it still took a week and a half just to bring them up to speed on what we're watching, why, when, and how, and where it's going to go. So
that is so funny. That it's probably 10 times more time talking it through than actually executing it. So
that's why I've always said this running ads is 80% sales and CS in customer service management, because you have to 100%. Reiterate why it's working and then rebuild their confidence on every call every week.
And also understanding their business and their chain of command and all these other sorts of things. Like there's a whole lot of things that go along with it. So anyway, John Moran's dog has another question here. If you have a fixed monthly budget you can't exceed, do you still use low T ROAS and standard shopping, or is it something that you can only apply when scaling the budget?
Ooh. If I have a fixed monthly budget that I can't exceed, and I don't care if I just get the revenue from anywhere, I will crank up a high T ROAS. I will go so high that I will never be able to add another $1, but it is not reducing anything by $1. Now I'm going to get a lot of returning customers, a lot of brand-ish, maybe, whatever it is. But if you're like, hey, you have a fixed monthly budget, we're not talking about scaling new customers, then don't even measure by nCAC. You're measuring by MER. As long as you don't overspend and you get the majority of the sales, then high T ROAS, even PMAX. Potentially, if you're measuring in app, because that thing's going to look amazing no matter what you do. You fart, you get a 5x ROAS. So run PMAX. But that's what if you
more of a toilet activity than a shower activity, by the way. Just so we're clear.
Depends on how long you're in there. Sometimes they slip out.
That's right. Too much information. Must be a Friday. Stuart,
drinking. This has been really weird.
That's right. We should do one of these calls drunk one time, just for the hell of it. I don't know. Just get you back drinking. Stuart Little. I'll follow the bandwagon. Oh my God, that'll be good. I want to be there when that happens. By the way, you call me ahead of time. All right, Stuart Little. Is this the Stuart Little that I know? Geez. Client is Apple products, reseller, product or iPad, iPhone, MacBook. Any strategy to sell them online? We ran search and shopping campaigns for 1 month, no conversions so far, and PMAX shopping. Okay.
If you're saying, I'm guessing that's a clarification because you said that afterwards where it says PMAX shopping. So if you have not tried standard shopping, I would absolutely try that. Here's the bad part. Standard shopping, and I've proven this 100 times live in the last 8 years. Standard shopping has one of the worst attributions. But it's one of the largest increases of performance. And the bad part is you are going to not be able to prove to the client in app that that's the reason why everything's getting better. Even Northbeam can't track standard shopping clicks very well at all. I have a great use case for this last week. I can even share if we wanted to. There's 400% off and went all unattributed. But what that means is that you have to kind of trust the process. If people are looking for your products and they're clicking their products, are they actually buying your products? Measure that somewhere else. Don't measure that in app. But if you're saying I tried PMAX, it's not getting any conversions, something's very wrong. Because the thing that cheats to get conversions is show zero. So something's really off. I don't know if I can diagnose that on this live, but I would say if you're like, hey, I've gone through everything with a fine tooth comb and everything's fine except for the structure of the campaigns, I would absolutely try a non-brand standard shopping, but just whatever you don't look inside of Google to see if it worked, look somewhere else. New customers, look at the products that you're trying to push. Are they selling more? It just looks somewhere else because it will look terrible, but that's part of the job of this. I would try standard shopping first. Cool.
Got it. But anyway, I just have to, put 33 big money on because he's apparently in the shower.
I'm lagging behind really bad, or you're lagging. I can't tell, but you are slow motion for me. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. I can hear you fine. I'm going to stop my camera. I think they're ripping up cable lines in front of my house here in Brookline. So we're going to go no video.
Speed test. Oh, wow. I'm usually getting 700. I'm getting 8. So it's my video too. All right. Well, let's just keep going because hopefully everyone can hear us. And then I'm going to keep my speed test open as soon as my internet comes back. Yikes. I'm down to 2. I'm usually 700. All right. Here we go. I'm up to 80. All right. I'm going to get that, but let's just keep moving on. Sorry, everyone. You're just going to have, it's going to be a podcast right now with not a, it's just audio. So just for right now, let's see. Hold on. We should be good. All right. Let's try this.
They come to see our good looks, John. Let's not kid ourselves. Everyone comes there because. All right.
All right.
I'm going to keep mine off because my speed test is running so slow. I don't even know whether or not it's slow or not.
You're cutting in and out pretty bad, so I'll read this.
Yeah. All right. Hey.
Yep. Hi guys. We're starting Meta for the first time at our apparel commerce brand. Any tips on how we should start? So what I would say is if you go back a few lives, we did a video about how to review your year-over-year performance. Now, if you're starting meta ads for the first time.
On meta ads for the first time.
Yep. I don't know, Ralph, can you hear me okay?
All right.
All right, we're going to kind of keep going just for a moment here. If it's, I have some questions. If it's the first time you're ever running meta ads and you're brand new and you don't have many sales or anything, I would still run a catch-all first. So I would actually do a meta ad campaign of Advantage Plus, no targeting. Obviously, if you don't have a lot of existing customers, you're fine. Do DPA ads first. DPA ads typically are a bad strategy for continuous scale in the future because they do go very warm and they're focusing on just the people who they believe is going to convert, which cannibalizes most other campaigns. But you can start a brand new campaign pretty effectively with just DPA ads, with the product ads inside of Meta. If you're not selling, you said apparel e-commerce, so I'm figuring you're going to have a catalog. I would run a catalog first, just because those typically launch pretty quickly without much fuss. What I mean by that is this is a campaign that we did this last. Oh, I'm sorry. Am I cutting out? I know you're cutting out too. So hopefully, man, I'm hoping everyone can see this. But anyway, we launched this one not too long ago, and it was this Advantage Plus shopping. We said remarketing because that's what it's gonna do because it's Advantage Plus. Just know that it's not all remarketing, but it's getting like $4 CPAs, and we only spent $3,000 on it, and it's basically brand new. So you can look at the cost per results, and they're sometimes they go up, sometimes they go down, but the purchase conversion values like popping in. Sometimes we get sell samples, sometimes we sell $400 products. So it's working well. It's kind of capturing everybody. And this is $20 cheaper than Google Ads that we're only running standard shopping on. So standard shopping of all inbound, Advantage Plus for all the remarketing, plus some prospecting. Those two work very well starting off. But I would run, if you're going to run just one channel, I would just do a Advantage Plus DPA to start. That's like, just find me some sales of anybody you think are interested. Let's just get started. Then you got to work on everything else, the branding, the promotions, the messaging, yada, yada, yada. But this is just like, hey, I have some products and I've never done this before. Is there anybody out there that wants this? That is what they'll find first. Next one, best way to calculate nCAC for Ecom client with both B2B and B2C customers, where B2B is higher value due to a larger AOV, bigger orders. Should nCAC targets be separated for B2B and B2C? Yes, you should actually run a nCAC versus NLTV. So it basically say take all of your new customers this last year, and it doesn't matter what the cost to acquire them. Figure out what all of those new customers last year paid and break them out in quarters. What do the people in quarter one pay us that year? Quarter two, quarter three, quarter four. What that'll tell you is if people in quarter one buy something once in that quarter, if they buy again in the second, third, fourth quarter, you're starting to develop an LTV trend, because that is the people last quarter maybe take another quarter before they buy. So you got to measure it from a year ago, chunk it up by quarters and say our repurchase rate is 2.2, 1.8, 1.6, 1.1. And you're starting to see as they get older, the frequency of purchases start to increase. Those are worth a value of X at each stage. If I buy them at Y at each stage or buy them once and it progresses, my nCAC to LTV ratio is 2x, 3x, 6x, 10x, whatever it may be. So do that calculation, and that's going to be your target for your B2B. Run the same thing B2C. But yes, you should absolutely want to know what you can buy them for, what you expect to buy them for, how to measure how you're buying them, and then what to do if it's not working or is working. Obviously, that's what you're here for, is learn these strategies. But the measurement is stupid important. And don't use your marketing platform as a reporting tool. Do not look at Meta to say, am I doing good? Look at your reporting tools as your reporting tools. Look at your marketing tools as a marketing tool. Those are the way that you want to look at those things. So if I spend money on B2B, regardless of what Meta says, what actually was B2B, that's how you want to measure this. So I'm going to keep moving quickly as we got about 6 minutes left. My shopping and PMAX campaigns, impressions crashed by 85% on 28th of March, which had a major core product update. Now, anytime I do feeder strategy, I do not get any sales. One of this universal. So if you're running shopping and PMAX and you had something crash with a core product update, I'm curious what that core product update was. If it is, hey, we have a brand new version of our famous WYSIWYG, update your famous WYSIWYG. Do not create a new WYSIWYG. And WYSIWYG is just fun for what you see is what you get. It's an acronym by saying like, this is what I have. So if you have, water bottle caps, I'm just grabbing something on my desk and you're like, this thing sold like hotcakes. So we're going to put that on the shelf and we're going to say, hey, Meta / Google / whatever it is, look at my new product you've never seen before. Trust me, it's the same one. It's a computer. It's different MPNs, GTNs, SKUs, item IDs, Ecom prod IDs. So what you want to do is take your existing product. If it's a product update the existing page, that existing SKU, MPN, GTIN. It's the one that Meta and Google like, and they know, and they trust, and they've worked on. I would update the same one. Your sales should come back very quickly. But if you're looking at a product update and it changed SKUs, GTINs, MPMs, or Ecom prodigies, all your previous data is now gone. If you are going to move forward with the new one, you want to retain the existing data because that's what it's learned. I would try that first. Next one. We did that one. All right. When you pause brand campaigns, you usually see more attribution to their campaigns, essentially one first touch with nothing to brand. Yes. So inside of Triple Whale and inside of Northbeam and inside of Hyros, no. Inside of Wicked's interface with Data Suite, yes. And when I say Wicked's interface with Data Suite, I mean, you can still use Wicked reports. You can go to them, but the Data Suite data stream is what's valuable. So when you're looking at the data stream through Data Suite in the interface of Wicked reports, that is where, yes, you can shut off your brand campaigns essentially, and you're going to get a lot of organic and directed email. But if you look at first click brand, it's always really, really, really small because very little is ever actually first click brand. So if you're running brand campaigns, you're measuring by first click, you shouldn't see anything to brand anyway if it's working well. If it's not, it means that something else is generating awareness, interest, and attention, but they're Googling the brand first, which then, yes, it means that their first touch point didn't actually have a click attributed touch point. It was a view attributed touch points, with any third-party tool will not be able to identify. So you're going to have to kind of, investigate and say, what are my view engaged conversions? What are my view conversions versus my click conversions? Say, aha, that is what would be actually contributing to my first click brand, because those are non-clicking. All right. Okay. Just curious, could you go into breakdown / audience segment? Man, I don't know if that was referencing something that we were looking at. It may have been. But if you're talking about like audience segments inside of like Google or Meta, you can, but I think, and I'm so sorry, I missed when you asked that question. We usually do kind of Q&A in the second part, and I didn't know what that was referencing. My apologies. If you can type it in, we'll see if we can get it right before the end. Tony Montana, that's awesome. Scarface is here. I actually apologize if that's your real name. You got a cool name. John, I took your advice into the 5X for the TCP ad max conversions. Leads are flowing better now. After taking this advice, now all you would do is change the daily budget if you want more, correct? So if you 5X the TCPA and everything's flowing in, yes, you can scale up your daily budget. Just understand that you're going to probably see CPA and TCPA, your CPA and your CPC go up. That's unfortunately normal. That's kind of built in, but it should be a way higher ceiling now, and it shouldn't be a way higher CPC for you now. But I'm glad that's working. It's so good to hear, like, when people are just like, you know what, I did a big bold move and it paid off. That's how we have to move things, which is great. Roberto, oh, that's funny. Mitch just says, fart ROAS is the best. I agree. Fart ROAS is, it's always high. Do you use priority for shopping campaign dog pile strategy? No, actually, I don't use priority at all anymore. Auto targeting and priority kind of compete against each other, or they conflict against each other. And it's not bad. It's just, it becomes uncontrollable or stagnates. So I usually use all high and then negative keyword or product my way in and out, or adjust my budgets or targets, but I do not use priority. Priorities, they're an old campaign function that does not jive with new campaign targeting algorithmically. Those two compete with each other. Okay, we can see you. Good. Thank you very much, everybody. Best practices for PMAX shopping campaigns. I always use feed only. I never turn on the expansion. So your text assets and your automatically created assets should be off. Never include people who are frequently in or interested in. Always use a higher TROAS or a lower TCPA target, because it's going to go warm, and import new customer acquisition if you can, to measure that it's going to be remarketing on the right audience. Remarketing on new customers, great. Remarketing on old customers, bad. All right, Google's actually okay with something like tier 11 data suite existing. Level of clarity gives feels like exact opposite of what they want, pretty sure. Well, the only reason why the data suite actually exists is because we're taking all of the data that Google has and Meta has on spend, and then we get to pipe in where the results happen. So conversion tracking actually never comes from Meta or Google. So that's what's great, is like it's our own website's tracking. We just have an awesome tracking piece of kit on our website. So as long as it's first party data, Google can't say anything. It's our website. It's like saying Google's really upset that you have that cool of a TV at your house. It's like, they don't have a say. It's our TV. So that's what's nice about how that functions. They'd rather keep buyers blindfolded than spending blindly in the algo. Feels like what you build gets too close to reverse engineering. Think they'll try to patch it. It's been 8 years since I've reverse engineering. We kind of go back and forth. They probably will end up patching it, but as long as CAPI exists, we're good to go. That's what the question was. Oh, my shopping and PMAX campaign crashed. Oh yeah, anytime. So it was, core product update. Sorry. Okay. So that's what it was. It wasn't a core product update. That's what I was curious. I thought your product had a update. So the core product update, I have not seen any change at all. I'm curious if there's something outside sources. Is anything new happening omni-channel is where I'd look at. If Performance Max does crash and standard shopping's half warm, you could have Performance Max targeting someone different, a new audience. TikTok started new ads on Meta. Performance Max is a lagging indicator that something else before that has changed. So please don't analyze Performance Maxes and why is Performance Max bad. Analyze why is Performance Max bad? What happened before they were trying to target the people they used to and now can't? It means that the people they're used to targeting is now gone, but the signals that PMAX get are not from its own accord. It's from outside influence, organic, direct, email, Meta, TikTok, all the, or YouTube, all those other traffic sources. I'd investigate, is anything fundamentally shifted, and even products that people go to. Our best-selling product is actually getting half the traffic it used to. Aha, that could be the reason. So we have to really do a deep dive and dig, but I would look at everything before performance max click, which is usually, all the previous touch points. All right, we're 2 minutes over. We made it. We got through all the questions too, which is great. So Ralph had to go because he has bad internet. But yeah, we'll see you all this coming next week. I appreciate it, everyone. Thanks so much. Bye.